Yes, welcome to another episode of the Mate Ready podcast and another episode of Coach's Corner. And I'm joined by Adam Glover. How are you, dude?
It is good to be back, my man. I'm loving these podcasts and I'm feeling very intentional when I'm here. So it's great to be here.
Good. Good to have you, man. Yeah, I received a very positive voice note. We do accountability voice notes to each other, check-ins and stuff. And today you were particularly pumped, which was nice to receive on a Monday morning, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a really positive week last week, and I'm just like ready to let's go. Let's do the things. You know what you need to do. Enjoy it because I think we said several times, how much of a privilege it is to be tired in the pursuit of the goals that you're trying to chase, rather than for something else. And so I think that I'm just really, really grateful and ready to get after it.
It's beautiful, man. Yeah, I think you shared that quote with us maybe beginning of last week or the week before, and yeah, it's just another reminder. Yeah, like we're building something, and the men in the brotherhood are all building something. They're all building themselves, and whether it's a business venture or their families, their physique, it is a privilege to do that, because there's a lot of people out there who are tired from just horrendous circumstances and life. What a privilege to live like this. So yeah, I love that, and gratitude's a big part of this pillar that we're going to unpack today is the faith pillar, the spirituality pillar, and yeah, what that means to us. And it is the pillar that I think most men struggle the most with. When we do a check-in, and faith, the spiritual pillar, is one of them. And it's often the one, whether it's on a call around a fire or just via text, men find it hardest to connect with that faith pillar. And, little wonder, because we live in a very secular society that's void of God and religion and spiritual connection. It's replaced by distraction, by social media, by wanting all the stuff. So we're going to unpack it a bit today.
I think the spiritual side of life, faith, religion, has been labelled as extreme. And I think that's such a disappointing thing to see, because curiosity around this is what generates feelings that people are searching for, the struggle, like the struggle to connect to this pillar specifically. I think you can only begin to connect with it when you become curious, not when it's forced upon you. So when you look at the way society views faith as a whole, regardless of religion and denomination and all that sort of stuff, there's like well, what do you mean you do that? That's weird. Why would you do that? And it's very interesting to see that, and something that I certainly, for many years, thought of, like, oh no, that's not me. It's not my jam. But actually, when I started to become curious of, like, how's that landing with me? How am I feeling about that? And rather than just blasé throwing it off and go, oh, that's another part of life, blah, blah, whatever. You can. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think there's an element here that there is definitely curiosity to connect with something that we all struggle with. That is the main stepping stone.
Yeah, I like that. What has spurred your curiosity lately?
Over this past kind of year that I left the military to build a business, to do this full time, there's the trials and tribulations, right? It's been far harder than I ever thought it would be. Far more of a transition, a challenge than I ever expected to be, because it was such a change. Whereas whilst I was approaching that change, I was like, I can handle anything. You can throw at me. It doesn't matter. But the change was such a difficult transition. But at the point where I was deepest in the hole of burying my head in sand and questioning absolutely everything of whether I'd done the right thing, solutions popped up. And I'm not talking about an awe-inspiring change of like, oh my God, this is the thing. Like, no, just little nudges. Little like, oh, Daniel's reached out. How you doing, Daniel? Should we have a chat? And we have a chat. And then here we are 9 months later. Oh, this veteran community, they want to talk to you. Okay, let's engage with these people. These men you've never met before. And these little nudges. And you would have probably seen it in me in the change of like starting with, oh, I'm just trying to do everything and trying to be like, well, maybe I should start listening to this. These little things, these little nudges that are happening that just appear to happen in the right moment. Can it all be luck? Can it? I don't know. Like, I'm not here to say that I'm right or wrong. I'm saying that when you look back over the course of my life, and I can do this anyway, is now I look at it and go, all of that had to happen exactly the right time. Because if it didn't, I wouldn't be here. How, like, and everybody could probably say things like that. Is it all luck? When you stack up the lists of like luck versus guided, or however you want to think about it, can you say all of those little things that had to happen at exactly the right time for you to be where you are you naive enough to think that, it can only be luck? So the curiosity came to me, and then it built momentum. And now I'm kind of in that phase of like exploration of like, what does this mean to me? Am I going down a path? Am I being signed by, a structure and a system that says I must do X, Y, and Z? Or am I letting it be free and figure out how I feel about things? One thing I can say is that I feel now more connected spiritually to the world around me, and I seek opportunity to do that than I ever have done, ever. So for me, that happened in a small little nudges rather than an awe-inspiring changes everything.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. The sort of the connected to the world around you piece. That's where I guide men to start. If they're like, I don't know, I'm not religious. Okay, cool. That's fine. How connected do you feel to the world around you? How much time do you spend out in nature? Like, do you know there's a world out there that's not on your screens? Maybe start in those places. Try and tune into something more than ourselves. I think, it for my own journey, it's been massive for me, and I don't hide that. I'm now on a Christian path, which has been quite interesting, to be honest. I pushed Christianity away for many, many years, and it's been through a series of things, as you say, and hindsight, you can connect the dots, and you go, oh, that's interesting. Oh yeah, and stuff comes up for me recently, and I'm like, oh, I was searching back then. I remember I was searching, interested by maybe finding a church when I was back up north, but I never did. Never. The right church didn't come up, or I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I've loved religion and theological talk and conversations and philosophy and stuff like that. I think is really, meaningful conversations for me, and I really value that. And I guess I've always believed in God, the creator, so I got baptized December last year. So quite new to the path, and I'm yet to decide what denomination or anything like that commit to. I think baptism's enough for me right now, and I'm sat in a good place with it. I'm studying a lot, and my faith's really strong, and it's so interesting how life is changing because I put that as the foundation that I'm building everything off, and I've really brought it into my family, our community. The church community have been amazing, and I never thought we'd find the support through that. So that's been really powerful. But it's one of those ones that I struggle to, now that is such a foundation, is such a pillar in my life. I struggle to see life without it. And it's similar to, like, I'm coming up to like 7 years sober, so I couldn't imagine drinking again or living. I couldn't imagine going and getting drunk, and alcohol being such a big part of my life. Doesn't mean that I could go and do it for a weekend or whatever, and that's it. It's not happening again. But I couldn't imagine it being part of my life because I've normalized it. So now I've integrated my faith, my prayer practice, my everything. So much in my life, I can't imagine life without it. And it links so much to my purpose. And that's why I think, faith and purpose are really interlinked as well. And to feel purposeful is ultimately something more than yourself. Something higher, a higher power. And we can there's different variations on purpose, but like I said, a higher purpose.
I think you've massively supported me in this part of where what I'm going through, and you've never been pushy. You've never been like, this is the thing, you must like this. That's not what it is. And I think so many people, when they think of religion or faith, that's what they think of. They think of being told, well, you must do this. Here's a book, and if you don't follow this book, you're done. Like, okay, can we all just take a minute and chill out, because that's a bit too oppressive for me. So. But as we look through the lens of faith and how you view your life, you said something to me a while ago, is that the morals of it give you the ability to lead a great life. That if you're wrong, does it really matter? Because if you're right, do you not have everything to gain? And that's kind of stuck in my head a lot. It's like, well, actually, when you look at the values and you look at the morality and the purpose and the way you try to live, we've spoken about Man in the Arena, we spoke about other things. If you do that for a period of time, for a period of your life, and you commit to living a certain way, does that not then give you purpose to lead the life that you want, regardless of whether it's correct or not? And I think that's the interesting point, is that, and I'm not saying, well, just do it because, it doesn't matter if it's wrong or right. You need to have a connection to it, have an affinity to it, and drive the purpose to want to do it. Everybody who's been like on a fitness journey has, if they've not got a purpose to what they're doing, they just kind of middle about in the gym and not really know what they're doing. Similar application, crude analogy, I know, but point stands. So when you look at what faith and spirituality can give you, my belief is, why would you not try to connect with some sort of spiritual connection? Why would you not try? Because if it gives you so much and doesn't take actually that much, and I think this is that kind of, if you want the purpose, you want the life you're trying to lead, faith and spirituality can give you that, if you're only willing to listen.
Yeah. I think giving it a go and being open-minded. I many years ago, when I was working with my mentor, that off the back of a period of depression, I ended up going down a Buddhist path because I felt that was more accessible. And you see that loads now, like loads. People are happy to go to a meditation thing or a yoga class, or all these Eastern philosophies and stuff. They're like, they feel more accessible to people, I believe. And I went seeking for God through Buddhism, which is funny because Buddhists don't really believe in God. So, but I knew it would be a place I can start, and a place, for rules, for guidance, for philosophy on life. And it was amazing. And actually, I think, look, if you're open, you're curious to it, go study Buddhism. It's a fantastic philosophy. You'll also learn to be mindful and present, because you can't find God if you're distracted all the time. You're not going to find him. You're not. If you're too busy in the doing mind, you're not going to find him. So you need to be mindful. You need to be at peace, and you need to be present. And then I ended up going down various avenues and sort of went down a bit into the New Age, which I very quickly saw through a lot of I don't know, it's just, there's a lot of stuff that I don't like in the New Age scene. And actually, what I realised is just humans. Not that I don't like humans, but it's the answers weren't there. It was a bunch of broken people pretending to be shamans and this and that and doing, and also as a bunch of people who also were just as judgmental as people think Christians are, and just as flawed as, and just as, you know, they didn't hold any solutions. It didn't, that movement to me, it's just a bunch of broken humans. As we are all broken humans. And I think that's one thing that Christians are generally better at doing, is saying we're sinners. You know, we missed the mark, and this, to sin means to miss the mark. I think people also struggle to accept that and be like, yeah, I'm a sinner. They're like, they don't. I think, you know, I can't agree. I can't get on board with that. My ego's crushed. It's like, oh, of course you're a sinner. Are you a perfect human? Are you walk, you know, no, you're probably not. Or your ego's really, you know, overinflated. So I went and I was like, oh, that's not it. That's not it. That's not the place. And for me, I've always connected, you know, got quite emotional in churches and stuff, and anything related to Jesus and his teachings and stuff. And I finally realised that, okay, right, all the reasons I pushed away Christianity, all the reasons everyone pushes away Christianity and religion and organised religion, I was like, right, I'm going to park all of that preconceptions, all of those judgments. So what, you know, the same judgments I'd make on the people in the New Age scene, the same judgments I make on Christianity and that religion. You know, can I judge that path on Christ rather than Christians? Rather than these flawed humans that are the same flawed humans in any religion. And guess what? If you're not religious and you hate religion, because it's of all the evil does it in the world, look to your left and right in all your little gangs, in all your little groups and all of that, you're still full of broken humans. It's a human problem. It is a human problem. Yes, humans have used religion to excuse all sorts of atrocities. But they don't. It's not just religion. It's capitalism. It's anything. It's the other side of things as well. Humans are going to human. They're going to do awful things to each other because they're broken. We're broken. And as soon as I did that, I was able to lean into Christianity, lean into the teachings, because actually, if you read a lot of the teachings, especially on my own chosen path, Christianity, love God and love thy neighbour are the two most important ones. Like, how can you not be on board with that? I get it, the whole concept of God, but once you believe in a God, why not? You know, the rest of it is just be a good person, you know. And for the rest of the stuff, I think, like, just being open to it, and that's where I'm at, and I'm like, it's like, oh, that's interesting. And you also find out how just broken the whole systems are anyway, because it's not good enough just to be a Christian. It's like, you've got to be the right kind of Christian. Are you a Catholic or Orthodox, or God forbid you're a Protestant or any other denomination under the Protestant banner? And it's like, you're missing the point. So it's fascinating. Like, for me, it's really fascinating. I think being curious is the main thing, and also understanding that we're all just broken people.
I think the whole idea of it, of like when you look at organized religion, of how over centuries, if not, you know, millennia, has sought to control and do X, like XYZ, and that's throughout history. You can look at it where the church and all that sort. You're exactly right. You can attribute that to absolutely every other part of human society, regardless. You know, like you spoke about capitalism, you spoke about taxation, you spoke about, you know, gangs and all that sort of stuff, and try, like, there is good and bad in all of us across the way. And like you said, humans are fundamentally flawed. It's when we talk about and we say, let's have a conversation now and go, oh yeah, I acted really stupidly there. I was really envious and annoyed of that person because they've got this. And the way I responded was really poor. If you say, well, you know, that's human fault, that's human fallacy, that's what we do. Okay, cool. And he's like, well, that's sinning to expect. And people are like, well, no, it's not that. It's I'm just annoyed that the word is the power. right? The connotation. So people automatically attribute the word sinning to somebody in a church telling you you're not good enough, get on your knees. And it's like, there's such that element of it that for me was one of the main reasons why I pushed it away. I was like, well, I'm not, who are you to tell me? I mean, you may be a man of God, but who are you to tell me that I'm not good enough? You're just a, and there's probably some stuff going on in your organisation that isn't exactly great, if you know what the stuff that's going on in today's world. But I think once you cut past that and just go, none of that matters, because the thing you're believing in has nothing to do with the bricks and the mortar and the chairs and the systems and that. If you read teachings and stuff like that, if you actually look at it, love thy neighbor, if you look at how to live well and all these, like, morality of it all, yes, there are some very damning things said in those teachings. Of course there are, because it's through the lens of the world at the time. There are things that stand the test of time, but there's through the lens of the world at the time. And we could do this across other philosophy, or not philosophy, you know what I mean? So Stoicism, where people talk about, I think it was Epictetus who had slaves, but was also a slave. Like, I think it was Epictetus off the top of my head. So, and he's like, well, if you've got a slave, you should do this. And you're like, yeah, but people are sat there quoting Epictetus saying, no man is a master of himself, something about physical fitness, or amateur in the pursuit of physical fitness or something. I can't remember off the top of my head, but we're selective of what we say. But the moment you bring Christianity or organized religion into it, people are so unwilling to move past the bad to look at the good because it's organized religion. But I don't think that's not what I'm interested in. I think I'm interested in understanding faith and how I feel about things. And if there is teachings that I can follow, if there's things I can read to help me to feel more connected, more validated in my life, and okay, cool. These are the morality this is the morality I'm going to follow. Fine, because that is, to me, quintessentially what I am looking for, not to be told by somebody who I don't know that you must do this because you have done terrible things. Like, okay, we get it. All right. Do you know if that makes sense?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like focusing on the message, not the messenger. I think that's really important. I fully believe we need this. We need faith. Or else, what is life? It's just some hedonic treadmill of going to work and the problem is as well. You see in society, and you really see it in society at the moment, when there's not God as the higher power, something else becomes the higher power. And you can't tell me that all of these other flags that people are waving, saying, this is the thing, we'd bow down to this ideology, none of that's healthier. And it's not serving anyone. I really... It's causing more division. It's causing more tribalism. And don't get me wrong, these organised religions, there's a lot of division and tribalism. It actually, again, as I say, missing the point. I went down the rabbit hole of listening to certain podcasts, and it's not only, as I say, not good enough to be a Christian. You have to be a Catholic, or you have to be unorthodox. It's like, guys, you're missing the point. As a Christian, it's about living like Christ taught.
Mm.
And it was Christ who went in to the temples and said to the Pharisees that you're missing the point. And these guys, I believe, he would do the same. It's like, you're missing the point. You're missing the point. And so technically, as a Christian, I should be here saying it does matter what religion you are. Jesus Christ said no one gets to God except through him. However, I'm not going to say that, because there's loads, I'm new on the path, and there's loads I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I'm so comfortable sitting in that doesn't have to make sense to me. I don't necessarily have to fully believe those things that are taught. I'm still working through a journey. For me, I'm looking at how I'm living my life. How is my life centered? How is my family centered? I know that my own wants and needs cannot be at the top of the pyramid. They can't. So therefore, something higher, I have to submit to something higher. I believe in submitting to something higher. And when I go out to the moors and I spend some time quiet and look around, look at those beautiful sunrises, I can't help but know God is out there. And for me, that's like, I am part of something much, much bigger that I have no idea how it all works out, or how it ends, or how it began. We've got some scripture I can study, great. And I can sit with that, I can ponder it, I can talk about it, fantastic. But I don't necessarily need to have a firm opinion on anything. That's just the path I'm taking with it, and where I'm at on my journey at this moment. What I do know is where I'm orientating my, and how that looks.
It's the totality of saying this is the correct answer, I think, is such a stupid, narrow-minded view to have. Because in anything that we do, not just faith, but anything, it's not the correct answer. It's the state of which it's currently in. A way, it could be wrong. It could be, in 100 years' time. And so, and I think something you said there, and I am going to pick up on it, is that you follow Christ and you follow the teachings of Jesus, and he went and told the Pharisees, "You're all completely off the wrong end of the scale here, like completely." And even if you don't follow religion, even if you don't follow faith, if you're not a believer of God, the Bible is telling us that the Son of God told organized religion they're wrong. So, and I think you would be right. Is if it were to be today, he'd do exactly the same. He'd be like, "What in the name are you doing?
What in my name are you doing?
Yeah, what in my name are you doing?" like this is such a and so my kind of point to that is that if you can look at that through the lens of, if that was you there at that time and you saw that happening, forget everything else, all the other things they said he did and it was said that he did, right? Forget all of that. But if the teaching is him going into the highest power at that time, saying you're doing this wrong, why would it not be the same now with the highest power of religious authority, and then cross-pollination to governments and all of those things? And I think that there's a lesson to be learnt there, is that you should never accept the finality of one person's view and say, well, that's correct. Because actually, when you get past all that and you just look at the message, is that not the thing that makes you feel a bit more joyous and comfortable? Like, oh, okay, I can follow that. That's not oppressive on me. It's not stopping me from living a way other than, if you're living well. I think people's opinions here often come across as fact and then are unchallenged by that. So when I look at faith and how that feels in today's world, as you spoke about it, the division of the world, why would we not, and it doesn't have to be religion, it doesn't have to be believing in God, why would we not connect all together and have a conversation and feel more connected to the world outside, away from mobile phones and screens and tablets and all those things? Because once you start to clear your mind, you said before, once you start to remove distractions and listen, and truly listen, what's being said in your head. And I think for me, that once I started to actually pay more attention to that, other than the Instagram, oh yeah, you need to get off your phone and lower your screen time, download this app, the questions started to arise. So that's how I knew that, okay, there's something further here. There's something more here for me personally. And I hope that people listening to this podcast understand that there isn't me or you saying, well, this is the way, because we're not about that. And I don't, and I'm not saying I'm as far along the path as you are. I'm at a curiosity stage. So I think it's about allowing that to be, allowing the curiosity to have its space, and not to try to get the right answer and pass the test and win. It's none of that. It's just step away. What do you hear? Because when you hear it, when you hear whatever's going on in your head and how you feel about things, probably that's your true self talking. And then you can connect through whatever medium you decide, rather than being peddled to by an algorithm, which, let's be honest, is controlled by a company designed to sell you things. That's it. And I think that when you take that first step, you take the first step into trying to understand your spirituality, because you try to understand who you are initially, not what you're being peddled to on a mobile phone.
Yeah, I love that. That's why I point guys to nature. Go get outside. Switch off. Go connect to the world around you. As I say, going up to Dartmoor or to the mountains or to the hills or wherever. Go to the woods or to a park and just sit there and breathe and look and really notice things around you and wonder, So often we're moving from A to B, and it's either to get our steps in or to get to the next task, or to train. Just be a human being and just be. And then I really believe that allows space to find something more than ourselves. And I think also holding the message, not the messenger. We're all fallible humans. Everyone. And yes, religions, there may be some aversion people has to them. But as I say, in my experience and what I found is that any aversion you have to most religions, I can point out the same aversion you should have to every other aspect of society, every other establishment which holds power, control, resources. Same. It's humans. It's humans. Sinful creatures. We are. And as soon as power happens, as soon as you get power, it corrupts. And actually, I found there's some amazing stories in the Bible that describe this perfectly. And that's been really fascinating for me. And yeah, it's just, do you know what? It's been really interesting. And I really, as I say, I recommend you find some sense of connection and start along the journey. And if that needs to start in Buddhism and mindfulness and getting out in nature, I think that's a bloody great way to start, to be honest. I really do. I'm having some great conversations. I've got a friend who is just read the Quran and he's exploring his faith there. And as I say, and this is where for me it's like, you get these Christians who are like, no, you've got to come join us. I'm like, no, you need to find faith. Like, I would really love all the men I meet, all the people I meet, find faith. Find a sense of something higher, more than yourselves. Because what has happened for me is what it's done for me is it gives me something to fall back on. It's like a compass, right? You have a moral way of living life. And actually, the more I've made space for it and prayer, like, things are happening. These coincidences keep happening. It's like, are they coincidences, or is God trying to talk to me? Are they God incidences? And it's fascinating. It's fascinating, and it's I really feel like that meaning, it adds so much meaning to your life and a richness to life, because it adds purpose, so much more purpose to everything. I mean, being a dad does that. Yeah. And then combining that with faith and something more is really, really powerful.
I agree. And I think a lot of people, and I'll be honest here with what I'm thinking. A lot of people maybe get turned off by this subject. And maybe we listen to this and go, that's fine. Not, but all we're talking about is the lens of our experience. And I can wholeheartedly say that being curious has allowed me to see, well, I may be moving forward from a better place now than I was before because I've been curious. And maybe it's allowing me to be a better version of myself. Not just for want of a better word, submissive to another system or whatever it may be, but actually an awareness, okay, cool. There's something going on here, and I'd need to lean into it. Because if I'd have felt in despair for the rest of this year, if I'd continued that path of would I be continuing this? Maybe not. I might have been, but I'm maybe not bringing my best self to the table. Whereas now, because I've been curious and go, well, maybe this is something. And again, I don't know what it is for me right now, and it's probably a longer journey than I'm thinking it's going to be. But I know that the fact is that all these little things, these little nudges in the right direction, or what I believe to be the right direction, is keeping me on the path of the life that I'm trying to create, the life I'm trying to lead, the person I'm trying to be. Because now that answer is very clear. When I ask myself a question of what should I do, it's like, that's the thing. Because it feels right. It feels like it's connected to something. Like, okay, that's the value. That's where I want to be. And that's the type of person I'm trying to be. So for me to be naive and say, well, that's just my own head, seems naive. But to say, actually, I've listened to something happening and I'm allowing it to happen whilst also growing past some, quote here and there, like it seems more to me, it seems deeper to me. And people might not be responding to that message, or they might not feel responsive, to that message. I think that it's a journey for every man and every person to go on and understand how they feel about it. Whether you come out the other side feeling the way you and I feel, maybe, or maybe you don't. But at least you gave it the time.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you for bringing that up. Like, if you're listening to this and you've got this far and you feel icky with me talking about Christianity and Jesus and stuff, I get it. Because I was listening to a podcast probably a couple of years ago now, and the guy kind of ended up on the Christian path, and I just wasn't ready to hear so much about Jesus. He was American, and Americans do have a when they love Jesus. When they love Jesus, it becomes very Jesus-y. So yeah, I get it. And I would just say, just be open-minded, because actually, take away the religion then and look for the experience, for the relationship, for the spiritual connection, and make time for it. Get out in nature and try and feel a connection, because I think it can be really, really powerful. It is really powerful. And if you're interested by faith, by these things, I would just really recommend disconnecting, get out in nature. I've been asked a bit recently, how do you pray? How would you start? Go start talking to God. Like, just start as though you believe and just see what happens, and make space for it on a daily basis. Just have conversations. Just see what happens. And like, make space, make quiet time to listen and to notice. And that's it. And I would just suggest start there. If anything, is great, because clearing your mind of all the stuff that's in your head, all the questions you have, you just get them out. It's like sitting in a sharing circle. But spending time in nature is really, really powerful. And I think it's just a stepping stone in the right direction. It's like, oh, okay, get out in nature more, get up on those moors, getting up in those peaks. Because it can be, well, it is powerful. It's life-changing stuff. And I've also been asked before, like, because I'm fairly open about my faith. Do you have to be a Christian to join the Brotherhood? Or no, absolutely not. Any faith, no faith, it's all good. It's all welcome. Because a big part of Make Ready and our belief system is critically thinking. It's being open-minded. It's accepting men for where they're at. And yes, there's underlying like morals and values we have as a brotherhood. But yeah, no, you don't have to believe. And no, I don't go on about it too much. But I do share my own journey. I really believe, like, every man's on their own path. And I just think just talking about your own journey and not trying to force anyone into anything. And it's just like, hey, this works for me. Give it a go. Don't like it? Cool. But I would really recommend getting off your phones, getting out in nature and seeing what happens. How you feeling?
Feeling good. These chats, and they're always needed, and hopefully the people listen to this, because obviously we've covered the pillars of the brotherhood now, right? Covered what of Make Ready. We covered the pillars of Make Ready. It's important that people understand that that's where we come from. That's our foundation to grow from, because now everything from there we can achieve because of those foundations. And we look at those things we've covered and how we've spoken about things. And for me, when I come off, when I have these calls and when we have these podcasts and we talk, it's a connection that's also needed, and I hope that people listening to this feel similar and you go, yeah, listening to Dan and Adam talk is fairly achievable. It's good for us to do. So I think from my perspective, hopefully people get some value from this and just even become a little bit curious. That's the win. If I can make you curious, winner. And not just in spiritualness or spirituality, to use better England, fitness, health, relationships, mindset, resilience, all of those things. If you're a little bit curious, we'd also love to hear your thoughts. That would be quite cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Curious. I love that. That is, I think, yeah, if we piqued your interest, then our job's done here. Hopefully we haven't put you off too much with the faith and spiritual talk. I know it can be a hard pill for, there's a lot of barriers and resistance there for a lot of men, which I understand. But yeah, for us, this is the sort of the foundation of personal development is how are you doing physically, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually. That's, your fitness, your mindset, your emotional intelligence, and your faith. That's why we've covered the topics. That's why they're there, because they are the arena of personal development in our eyes. So, yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys. So, makereadymen.com. You can get in touch there. info@makereadymen.com is the email address. Of course, we're on Instagram @makereadymen. We're going to start doing Q&As, I reckon, on some of these. We're going to have space to answer some questions on these coaches' corners. So, yeah, please get in touch. Please subscribe and review and share and follow and do all the things that these podcast platforms get you to do, because it will help. And please share with another man who you might think, they'll like this. This will be of value. Let's get out there. Right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Adam, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Another great one.
Nice one. Until next time, guys, keep showing up.